Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News. This is Justice for All. And boy, I got a great show. Um, I'm going to start off with, wow, the VA, I believe. Um, Let me scroll to it. Um, and this was the VA didn't accept a man with a heart attack. So he went to a clinic covered by the VA through insurance and found out he was in the middle of a heart attack and they hospitalized him. Um, why is the VA doing this? This headline pretty much says it all. This is from Fox out of Florida. If the VA denies veterans' claims, says his heart attack is not an emergency. A heart attack is not an emergency, really? Whether a heart attack can be classified as an emergency or not. Now, most people would say yes, a heart attack would be an emergency because you've heard these things, such as serious as a heart attack. Um, so it would be seen to be quite serious. If serious says it's serious and needs to be seen immediately, probably an emergency if you had one that you would think so. So story is written by Craig Patrick, and the story says that 7 years after Congress passed a law reforming the Veterans Health Care Administration, the Veterans Health Care Administration, it appears they've made a great deal of progress on the reforms, which increased the VA staff to allow some veterans to receive private medical care, improved access to health care for many sick individuals, vets, also wounded vets. So this happened in February. This man wasn't feeling right, and he's a veteran era Air Force, and he couldn't say why he didn't feel right. But during the pandemic and at the height of the mask wearing and social distancing, so everybody was either locked down or locked out. He said it actually made things difficult even dealing with the VA. So, if the VA could not specifically define what was going on health wise, they didn't want you to, they didn't know, they didn't want you to know people in the facility. So, as backed up for the VA health care, he was Medicare Advantage. This is a Medicare Advantage plan, which he used to visit his cardiologist who diagnosed him as having a heart attack. Now, this is a cardiologist, and he would know, you would think. So he says, this guy speaking, he's looking at me and saying, you are having a heart attack right now. That's a quote. Just in case you're worried, maybe there's some ambiguity here that was a concept. Really? That spelled out that you're having a heart attack right now? That cardiologist speaking to you saying those words, you're having a heart attack, sir. Calm down. You're having a heart attack. So you would think that is serious, right? Probably an emergency, right? So the next thing is boom, he checks out, like at least a conscious wise. So he's unconscious and he wakes up in the hospital, which is not the VA hospital, a regular hospital, which is, by the way, that's one of those things. Good news, bad news. Good news, you're still alive, and bad news, you woke up in the wrong hospital. It should have been the VA hospital. Did the doctors know? If you're out, how do you know? Boom, out go the lights. Do you know to tell them, hey, I got to go to the VA? The doctors at that hospital installed four stents, folks, that were installed and told him that they had to do that because he had 98 blockages. The heart attack was caused by 98 blockages, they said. Medicare covered much of it. but the VA would not pick up the remainder of the tab. The VA's got to follow the rules. They got to follow the rules. Well, we're getting up there in the first bill that was supposed to pay because VA would not pick up the bill was $600. The second 250. So they were out a whopping 850 bucks. So he soon discovered he was caught in the quagmire over the definition of the word emergency or which hospital he should really go to. And of course, the policies didn't match up to his situation, according to the VA. The VA denied his claims on the ground that he had not happened to him. This is the quote. I'm going to go ahead and uh, he does not meet the prudent lay person's definition of an emergency, is what they wrote in the paperwork. Why would you say a lay person? It really ought to be more like medical profession, because if a doctor says it's an emergency and the average person's like, I don't know what that doctor is going going to go with. And it happened in this doctor's office during he passed out. So it it met the qualifications under Medicaid or Medicare, um, as an emergency, and he transferred him to the hospital, a normal hospital, not a VA hospital. And he thought, well, I got something around that. His physician wrote a letter for him stating that he had an emergency. Now they have changed their minds. Now that they realize there's a bill, they changed their mind and said, maybe he's crazy. Maybe the doctor's crazy. Is this a medical emergency? I tend to believe him. I believe if a fireman tells my house is on burning, I tend to believe him because they're the experts and in their fields. And so if a doctor says this is an emergency, the doctor says this man is having a heart attack in the midst of a heart attack, you're going to wake up in a hospital. The VA, but not the VA, not the VA hospital. The VA denial also stated that the VA facility was available and there was beds available to provide emergency services. Well, they're the ones that turned him away. For the most part, the doctor, he could have sent him to the VA hospital, but he didn't. He told him to go home. When he didn't feel better, he went to another hospital or another clinic, which said you're in the middle of a heart attack. And you have to give a timely notification now. Well, that's 72 hours. Okay, what if he's single? What if he's homeless? Who is going to turn this in if the man is out? Out. He's having a heart attack. Then they take him in for an emergency surgery, has stents. Oh, 72 hours burns up really quick. The VA policy states that the failure to report emergency care to the VA within 72 hours in the start of treatment may impact coverage. And the coverage impact means they're not going to pay. After passing out from the heart attack in his doctor's office, he didn't have a whole lot of say about where he wound up. He was unconscious. The time that he couldn't, by the way, sit up and go, hey, guys, really take me to the VA. Was he even able to do that? Did they ask him? Did the nurses find out? What about his records, his medical records? If he used this facility before? Another 3 days. Oh boy, I lost my spot. Another 3 days for procedures, monitoring, and you're telling me that during everything you're doing to this man, he's supposed to stop, sit up and say, hey, I'm supposed to be at the VA. No. He wasn't stabilized for 5 days. So why wouldn't the VA take this into consideration? VA policy does state that even if the notification did not occur in a timely emergency, treatment may still be eligible for reimbursement. The question, of course, is this an emergency? The man has a heart attack in his cardiologist's office, and he wakes up in the hospital. Most people would consider it an emergency, a life or death. When you're in the position where your life rides entirely in the hands of others. Um, so he can direct his treatments. He can't really tell them where to take him. He can't even help them for 5 days. They can't ask him, by the way, how old are you? You know your blood type. He wasn't answering. They got the call from the ambulance for him. They got him to the local hospital. Um, they thought he was more than likely going to pass away that night. So there's a fight over whether or not they have to reimburse him in this case because they say he still may be eligible for federal appeals court. So why give him the money? He's still got another appeal. He does live on a fixed income and cannot afford the 850 medical bill. It put him in a bind financially, he said. Financially, he said, forced him to cut back on essentials like food. In the meantime, VA for comment on the man's case have not received a response. But I've yet to receive a response. I did a story a while back about school that showed the Lion King as a fundraiser. Disney contacted them. Whoever owns the rights to the movie, he said, you're not allowed to do that. But I don't even want to get into that because this is a veteran. That's a minor point. The bigger point here is that the VA has a great mission to take care of our veterans' medical needs. And if they walk in to their own medical doctor, they should be and said, no, well, we think you're okay. So then they feel worse. Go to another doctor that's not part of the VA, that is covered by the VA. And then he has a heart attack and he put him in the hospital. To me, you would think that that's what should happen. But guess what? It didn't. He's still in appeals. He's still, oh boy, I know this is I know you guys are getting pissed about this one. But see, that's what happens all the time. What's an emergency and what's not? And if you go to the doctor and he says you're okay, later on that night you have a major stroke. You didn't have a stroke at the doctor's office, so it wasn't considered an emergency. They got to fix these policies. That's all it is. Broken policies. And I don't no. I know I'm probably going to make a lot of people mad, but this isn't anything passed by Congress, Senate. This is stuff that the VA is agreeing to. And with cuts, what do you cut? What do you cut? So you cut your doctors, have more nurse practitioners. You cut your staff on the prescription medications and put in a automated system that if you want to just reorder and not talk to anybody. Automated system, you can even set up your appointments. And so when you go in with a serious problem, you're seeing who? That's what happened to me with my MS. I'm going to tell you, but it wasn't the VA. When you start seeing people that aren't qualified to make a prognosis. And so they send you away. And so what do? You feel worse, you get worse, you go to the hospital, bango. You could be the next victim. Yeah. Okay. Interference. Folks, keep an eye on the VA, and we need to push more and more with Congress and Senate to bring policies back and give them more income so that so the VA get a hospital. not a guesstimated what your prognosis is hospital. Same way with Indian reservations. They got somewhat a decent hospital with policies. Um, we need to make sure all hospitals run the same program, same policy, same emergency. You can't say it's not an emergency if he's having a heart attack. Okay, interference. Now, wait a minute. No, it's not that one yet. I want to get this one. The 25 feet. Um, it's a type of interference. Now, I know everybody's got these cell phones and everybody loves watching what they put out there the cops do or don't do. Corrupt cops, they caught. Good cops, bad cops. Cops that need to be watched. Cops that don't need to be watched. Uh, Video cam that proves the cop's case. Or someone that is the victim with a camcorder that proves the cop's case. So more and more, we're seeing video recordings of everybody. They're going to record it, got to record it, got to record to prove their point. It's now turned into video evidence, the video evidence generation, because they want to prove. They want to make sure they prove themselves. So yeah, so you're driving up the road and you see these police officer. It looks like the police officer getting a little rough. So you jump out and you start recording him, and you get up close, and he says, "Back up, back up. You're a little too close." Well, in Indiana and quite a few other states, they have passed the 25-foot rule, and I've talked about this before, probably even on my news. Um, there's reasonings for this. It's not because, oh, they're doing something corrupt, so I'm going to disobey them and maybe even get arrested because I got to see up close. Do you really got to see up close? What if you stumble upon a accident or murder or we don't know, drive-by shooting, something? How far out does the evidence fly? Uh, on average, evidence will fly 100 feet. So if he's at the car or at a house and you're going to get right up in his face, that's not 100 feet. And he tells you back up. So legally 25 feet. What if you leave a footprint? What if you leave a footprint? Well, they're going to come after you thinking you did this. And then you're going to whine and cry. Not you. I'm just saying these criminals whine and cry, saying, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I was just videotaping. I got it all on video. Well, they're going to look at your shoes. So automatically you have inserted yourself into a crime that you didn't need to be if you just would have stayed far enough away to find out what's going on first. And are you trespassing? Are you allowed to be that close? Is it private property? If it's public property on a street, yeah, walk on up and get the cop. If he says, no, back up a little bit. So what? Back up a little bit. You can always zoom. You can always zoom on these fancy phones. You can always zoom in and see. Doesn't always distort it. Doesn't always distort it. And sometimes the body cams are on cops. Do we trust the body cams on cops? If they shut them off, oh no, I'm with everyone else. Why'd you shut that off? Is it a clip or a glitch? Did you edit it? And what if somebody has a video recording, they submit it, the cops got theirs, but theirs is more full because it's got more info. The whole thing is there's a 25-foot rule, and you have to think about what you're videotaping. And you can videotape people arguing on the street. That's if in public they can't say, "Oh no, you can't videotape us because we don't want us to be able to be seen." That's public property. What about a school? Parents or parents go for a school board meeting. They're allowed to take it in there. It's a public place. It's a public meeting, and they're allowed to record. But are you allowed, if there's a fight breaks out, to jump in and get the up close personal? No, 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 because there should be that 25-foot rule. 25 foot isn't far. It's not that far. Like I said, you can always blow it up and bring it in. You can always blow it up. You could just scan it out. You could scan it to people's faces. There's so many programs out there now that you can prove your point. Just be courteous. Whether you think it's a corrupt cop or not, be courteous and just stand back. Just stand back. Um, oh, okay. Now we're going to get to, oh boy, I love this one. Let me see. I think I have to go back up to it. And this one I got a video for because I want to really know your opinion on this because this happens a lot. Is it interference? I think this was a, to me, it was a ambulance chasing lawyer. Oh boy. Okay, so there was a Newport, Rhode Island woman who was first on the scene of a car accident between a college student in South Kingston, Rhode Island. Um, Alleges that the South Kingston police were abusive. This woman did and assaulted her. You are impeding an investigation right now. You're really bothering us. You are interfering in an open investigation and interrupting in us actually talking to the victim. So in a 20, I want y'all to listen to this real close because I'm going to show you the video and let you guys decide what you think this is. In a 23-page lawsuit filed in federal court on behalf of Claire Hall, she alleges that she was unlawfully arrested and physically injured and was placed in imminent fear for her life and her well-being. She was emotionally damaged. She was embarrassed, humiliated, and unlawfully and wrongfully charged as a criminal. According to Hall, the suit, she was driving along Route 1 on an afternoon of February of 9th of this year, and she saw two vehicles that appeared to have been in an accident. And this was on Tower Hill Road, and Hall said she pulled over to help. The two young men had crashed, according to her lawsuit, found that the high school student to be disoriented and injured with an injury to the head, and 911 had already been called by another witness. She wanted to help the 17-year-old by removing him from the car. She asked the 17-year-old if she could help, make a phone call, let anyone else know about the accident, and alert them to where the EMT should be taking him for treatment. Miss Hall then offered for the 17-year-old to use her cell phone because he was too shaky, and she would call his father for him. And the father whose vehicle he was operating. Miss Hall took out her cell phone, handed it to the 17-year-old so that he could dial his father's number, even though he was unable to complete this task on his own phone minutes before. Therefore, Miss Hall made the call for him according to the lawsuit. Within a few minutes, Miss Hall had arrived at the accident scene. Officer Souza, the South Kingdom Police Department, arrived. Hall alleges the officer Souza approached the scene and very combative, yelling at her, and his manner was cruel, which was obvious to her, and the reason for his combativeness was unknown. According to the suit, Hall explained who she was to the officer and indicated that she was a lawyer. This is where I think when I started looking at the film, I started thinking she's an ambulance chaser. But yeah, that's up for you guys to decide. She arrived very shortly after the accident occurred and was there to offer assistance. The two operators, the 17-year-old father was still on the line on Hull's phone when the officer Souza approached Miss Hull, informed the officer White that the 17-year-old father, who was on the line on her cell phone, was concerned about just his well-being of his son and inquiring about talking to an officer when 911 had already been established, and and the officers were also had got the information from both young men on who to call. And she said she was only thinking of the well-being of the son in the inquiry and where he should be transported to for medical treatment. Miss Hall interacted with the officer. For slightly more than a minute, she was very concerned about the officer's attempt to have the 17-year-old kid operate the vehicle with a head injury, not knowing what else to do, even though she had taken him out of the car. Miss Hall offered an officer, White, her cell phone so that he could speak directly to the kid's father after interrupting and stopping officers from going to the car or even speaking to both kids after they had just recently arrived. According to the report of Officer White, she then lunged with a phone outward, and then the officer lunged with both hands. And Hall did not know what was happening and why the officer White had his hands on her body and searching her. Miss Hall was assaulted, restrained, and forcibly thrown to the ground and had a knee placed on her body before she was in handcuffs. Miss Hall bodily injury, including to her shoulders, breast, bladder, because she had wet herself. And emotional distress, embarrassment, humiliation, loss of bodily function. Miss Hall cried out in pain. At one point, as she was being walked to the police car, the officer let her move her arms, informing them that her previous dislocated shoulder was okay. They did move it around as they were walking her. Miss Hall, when she was on the ground, she was asked why she was being arrested, and she had not broken any laws. Officer White responded that it's because she wasn't listening to him, according to this lawsuit. Miss Hall was pushed down um, uh, while in handcuffs in front of passing vehicles, which was an embarrassment. Officer White police cruiser Miss Hall was placed in the back of the officer of a police cruiser since he was the one making the arrest. But they moved her to the one that was not really protected, a protected vehicle at this time for oncoming traffic. Miss Hall, in the police cruiser, Officer Souza took Miss Hall's cell phone from her and hung up on the 17-year-old father, and who was waiting to know where his son would be transported for. That's according to her lawyers. According to the prosecution, they were already on the phone with the fathers, or parents, it was stated, by other officers who got the information from the two teens once the Miss Hall was subdued. Medical treatment for Miss Hall it was then locked in the back of Officer White's police cruiser for approximately 20 minutes, and there she subsequently transported by Officer White to the South Kingston, about 20 minutes away before she was um, um, basically at the police station. The vehicle was eventually towed from the scene, hers. Now, understand this, her vehicle was in the way. And when they first come up on it, all they wanted her to do was move her vehicle. And then all of this started. This um, So is this showing a so-called good Samaritan in law enforcement, the fact that she was just a bystander that stopped to help and even had the kid's father on the phone. Did she check the other car? We don't know. And from the looks of it, she came in, she looked at the worst car, she went up and talked to the kid, and then was automatically started on it, then automatically was yelling at police officers from what I've seen. The criminal case, for instance, of in the issues is she said was a false arrest, and she could take this civilly, where um, she can say it was a warrantless arrest. Of course, you can do that. If it's criminally, if you're charged, then you can countersuit, and you could take it civilly to blame the police officers for your injuries. Was she really injured? Um, so, so then we're down to. Let me see. Got to make sure I move this over so you guys can see this. Um, it's about a 4-minute video, and once they stick her into the cop car, it's 20 minutes of dead space, and then her just saying she's hurt. So I'm going to show you 4 minutes. I'm allowed this 4 minutes, and I really do. Take a look at it. Then after you see this video, tell me what you think. Was this a good Samaritan, or was she being an ambulance chaser and just wanting this kid's case to go after who? Was it the cops? But the cops, only did their job, and to me, they seem nice. All right, so here we go.
I'm not. No, I'm on something. How many cars are involved right now? Not mine. That's mine.
Just want to tell you that kid right there. That's the kid she's so worried about, and he's standing there. Okay, not the other kid. This is the kid that she took out of the car.
We need to get that off the road. All right, can we get that into the parking lot? Yeah, we'll take care of it. I was trying to tell his father. So we're in the middle of a highway. So, all right, can you move your car, please? Sure. Thank you. My man, is your car drivable? Yes. All right, we're gonna get it off to the side of the road. All right. All I'm saying is I can leave. I just want to tell his father. You don't have to leave. Just move your car. I just want to tell you. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Let's have a seat right over there. Is that your mom? No. No? I'm working. Can you please go sit in your car? You have nothing to do with this. Father, I understand. I'm an attorney, but he's a minor. And you need to tell me if you're going to be here. I don't need to tell you anything. I'm going to arrest you in a second if you don't get in your car. Do you understand? I'm not kidding you. You are kidding. You are impeding an investigation right now, and you're really bothering me. Go sit in your car. I will talk to him in a minute. Get in your car now. Take it. No, you do not touch me. Oh my God! Stop! What are you doing? Oh my God! Are you kidding me? Knock it off! Knock it off! No, just get your hands off me right now. Get your hands off. All right. Yes. Yes, I do. Oh my God! Stop! Stop! No, I'm not stopping. Are you fucking right? It's recording. I'm wearing a body. It's recording. I understand, but why am I under arrest? Because you weren't listening to anything we were saying. Oh my God, you're not listening to the father. Oh my God. Take a breathe. No. I'm fine. I'm not leaving you at all. How about you stop resisting and you let us put you in handcuffs? My shoulder is dislocated and you're making it worse. Well, rescue you. Oh my God. Sit up. Can you please call Bob Barber? Sit up. Call Bob Barber right now. He's in Narragansett, please. Please call him. Well, we're not in Narragansett. I understand that. I cannot believe you. Take this fucking off me right now. Okay, baby, I have one in custody. Oh my God. Oh my God. You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. Stop. No! Stop talking. No! This is so ridiculous. put her in my car.
I just wanted to know. I could tell his father if he was going to the hospital. I'm not even involved in this. I can't believe this.
That was our point the whole time.
I cannot believe this.
That was our point the whole time. You are not involved.
Oh
You are not involved.
I'm a good
We
Samaritan.
instructed you to do something,
I'm a good
and you
Samaritan.
refused to do it.
I'm a good Samaritan who stopped to help a kid, and this
Let's
is
go.
what happened. Okay, stop growing me. I'll come around. You're hurting me. Oh my God, stop it. Ow! Ow! I want my phone from there. What am I doing? He's pulling my. Hey, stop! Get my shoe. Please get my shoe. Get my. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I cannot even believe this. No! That's weird! It's beating the shit out of me! Holy shit, yes, he did!
Okay, she screamed. Did you hear her scream? She said she was screaming in pain because they were hurting her. Okay. Karen said non-compliance. Put your comments in. Put your comments down in there. Let me know, because I want to read some of your comments next week. For those that are catch the show later, this is going to be a great show. I'm going to show more police videos. She was it a good Samaritan, or was she a what I call ambulance chaser? Oh, she knew the kid, but why did she remove him from the car before the police officers even got there? Realized the police officers got there and she already had him out of the car. What if he was hurt? Who's liable? All right, folks, that is it for today's show, and I hope you've enjoyed Justice for All. We got more coming next week. I want to start showing good cops, bad cops, good people, bad people, and crooked judges to, you know what, maybe you were too stupid. All right. I want to thank everyone for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe. Hit the thumbs up. Ring the bell if you're not getting notified. Well, and if you like Justice for All, come back next Monday. But we have me and William coming up on the next hour for the news. And of course, me tomorrow. We've got a full week. All right, folks. Take care and God bless. Take care, folks.